up, everybody? I am very excited today to have Miss Eileen Noyes with me. How are you today?
Good morning. It's morning over here.
Good morning. It's morning here. It's a little earlier for you, so thanks. West Coast. She wanted to get up with me here, but you know what? She said she's an early riser anyway, so I don't feel too bad.
No, you shouldn't feel bad. So I'm usually up 2 hours earlier than this. So yeah.
That's an early grind, girl. At 4 a.m.
Yeah, and I found that I don't know. There was a time in the summer I woke up 3:50, and it was consistent.
No sane person is up yet. Hey, early bird gets the worm, right? The earliest saying in the world, man. Early bird gets the worm. And if I could do that, I've been searching for a magic pill or a magic something that gets me up in the morning and I feel amazing. I have 3 little boys, and we'll get into your clan in a minute. But these 3 little boys, my youngest is 5, and like just getting up and getting them ready for school. I'm trying to always have this positive energy and positive attitude, but I am just not a morning person. Dragon, right? Maybe you have that little magic pill. Anything you can do to help?
I kind of not gonna lie. So
legal, illegal, I don't care. Just get it to me. Get it to me. But yeah, thank you so much for joining the show, and we have a lot to get into in a little time. This might even be part 1. Who knows?
Hey, yeah.
Eileen is right now. She's on the move, on the come up. She has Unsidelined Life. It's the 2nd year of that. You have a published book, Sideline No More, and I just really loved kind of when I reading up on you a little bit, and then when you and I spoke. What I'm really into is your confidence and how much you want awareness and how much you want to bring, kind of attention to what has gone on in your life, and how it's more of a story of overcoming, I would say. But kind of tell the people who don't know Eileen a little bit of your backstory, what it is that you're doing on your show and your book and everything.
Yeah. So the backstory, which caused me to kind of say, hey, let's kind of get, in a sense, front and center, is I used to be part of the NFL world. I was married for 16 years. It's interesting because I see now a lot of guys talk about their faith, and that wasn't really anything. Like 2001 to 2009 was when my ex was there. So he's very outspoken. That's what we did with our family. We raised them up to love the Lord. But unfortunately, 2016, things just turned. And so our biblical marriage, things like that, it turned to where women weren't created in the image of God. Women were just meant to cook, clean, and have babies. And literally, if you didn't have that, or if you couldn't offer that anymore, it was kind of like, in a sense, thrown to the wayside. And it was such a contrast from what it used to be. So I had to deal with all of that. And long story short, we actually had to have an escape plan. And so I have 7 kids, or I had 7 kids at the time. I didn't realize I was actually pregnant with number 8. And so we had this escape plan, hoping that he would come back around. And he just never did. And so when I say that, it was just a religious influence that was about polygamy. Like I said, the woman's value was just kind of in her duty. And so in going through that, and then going through 4 years of singleness, and then remarried now, I mean, I went through a lot. And I remember going through that time thinking, God, if I have to go through this, get glory, let it not be in vain. And so I have so many different incentives. I have this thing of, okay, you know what, like my kids, like I want to make sure that, one, the devil doesn't steal more than he already took. And honestly, like my faith is everything. I can't not talk about that.
Yeah, and I love that you do. Yeah.
I could not even imagine going through something like that without God. And so, I mean, he was like my playbook to get through that. And so there's an incentive like, no, I have to be here for my kids. I want them to make sure that they're, that they're not bitter, that they still like believe in God, all those things.
So let me interrupt you for 1 second, because you just said something that really, really played. And I notice little things sometimes, but you just even saying, I have to be there for my kids. You saying that sounds like you had some dark days where you had to talk yourself into, I need to be here for my kids. Is that accurate?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I loved being mom and wife. I mean, so someone in the NFL, because you're catered to and you have that lifestyle, I knew I had a high maintenance husband. I mean, just that was the reality. And I loved it. I loved serving him. I loved being mom to kids. The joy was taken away when I was never good enough. And it was about being a certain way. So I wanted to die. I was like, I can't, this is too much.
That's what I mean.
And I remember literally on this road in Green Bay, and I'm like, hey, God, like, just take me out. I can't do it. I can't. And I knew he was saying, no. Yeah.
No, and I appreciate you, being so transparent with that, because that's not an easy thing for people to talk about. There's so many people everywhere that go through feelings and emotions like this that are, they're too afraid to talk about it ever, and they hold this stuff in. Tell me about Eileen before the NFL wife, all the way back, all the way back.
All the way back.
Let's go back to a little bitty baby. Where are you from?
I'm from the Philippines, born
Okay.
in the Philippines, but
Okay.
then my parents and my four brothers, well, my three at the time, we came to the United States. I think I was maybe like a year old.
Where was home? Where did you guys move to?
California.
Okay, whereabouts?
Southern California, Cypress, around.
Okay, all right. So you guys shoot Philippines over SoCal, and you
Yes.
grew up in SoCal.
In SoCal.
All right.
Played volleyball, so I started at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, transferred over to Colorado State, and so that's where I'm on the shore. I'm 5'7" in volleyball. That's super short now.
Yeah.
Did that, loved it, and because I was on the shorter side, I really had to focus on my strength and all those things.
Sure.
And so I got to that. So I started my internship at San Diego State. And that's what I did. I worked with all the athletes.
Okay.
So my internship turned into a full-time job. I loved it, but I knew, that's where I really anchored into my faith. I knew that when God brought me marriage, that I was going to kind of lay everything down in a sense. And so
Yeah.
I went from, hundreds of athletes every day, starting my day at 5 a.m, ending at 6 o'clock, in the evening. And so, I loved it. I had my community, my work, my family, my church, everything was right there. And actually, my ex was an athlete at San Diego State.
That's what I was going to ask you. So that's where y'all linked up?
Yes. Yeah. So he goes, I follow a year after. And I stopped everything.
Was he kind of a superstar, kind of a standout at San Diego State?
Yes. Very
Okay.
much.
So right from the jump, there's that little bit feeling of entitlement from him, right? Is that fair to say? Even the guy you fell in love with, you have to admit there was probably a little bit, like you had said, catered to entitlement type feeling, right?
Sure. And you know what? I would say that who he was, and I hate to say it like that, but he was not the norm. He was super nerdy.
Okay.
He was very humble, very, in a sense, naive.
I won't speak for all women or any, because I'm not one, but confidence, not arrogance, right? And when it crosses that line, sometimes you're too far in, if that makes sense. But it sounds like here you fell in love with a guy who was very humble and very, like you said, maybe there was the feeling of entitlement. It sounds like everything came a little bit later, once he got a taste of the life.
Well, it's really unorthodox. Humble. He did well, but he was super determined. And it was, when I think of NFL and I think of things like that, so much of the reason why they're good is there's something to prove. There's a chip on the shoulder. There's a childhood wound.
100%.
Things. If I kind of jump the gun a little bit, the reason why, from my perspective, and if you kind of look, it is a cult situation where this religious teaching, it is about performance. It's about rank. It's about the respect of men. It's polygamy. So it's kind of this world where it's like, oh my gosh, it's accepted. It. So it's after the guys get done, it's super hard. And so it was a warped familiarity that looking at going, okay, I get it. And so I have a weird compassion too. And I do.
No, yeah. And I noticed that, right? It's almost, you have a hard time being angry almost.
Yeah. There's definitely things that I had to go through actually. So this happened almost 10 years ago. I had to deal with the anger part just recently, and it because of my own healing.
Yeah.
And so if I could just give you a taste,
please do.
Yeah. Like going through this, again, I had to anchor my faith. And so all these things that are going on, really when things are hitting my face and I'm seeing what he was saying about me, whether on Facebook or YouTube or things like that. I remember the first time I saw a post, and mind you, this is small Green Bay. We were already pillars in the community. It had to do with our faith. People would say, gosh, you guys are like a model family. And so anyways, I remember the first time I saw something on Facebook, and I'm like, wait, I didn't say that. I didn't do that. And I wanted to, and I'm literally talking to God going, God, I didn't do that. I don't want to fight, but I didn't do that. And he said, I'm going to be your defense. And so taking that route kind of freed me. But I also was like, it was like I had to put like logic and emotion, like I had to just get that out of the door and just really obey God. And so God's saying, hey, pray for him, forgive them, choose joy, focus on your kids. Because to me, and things are started coming out in the limelight. And so I was just like totally like just total focused on my kids. And so in going through that and really operating in this like supernatural, I mean, people like, what the heck? Wait, this just happened to you and you look, you're fine, you're smiling. And
Staying in shape, working out, doing the right thing. Yeah.
it was super sincere. But as I remarried, I realized, whoa, there's certain triggers, there's certain like mental things where I literally the second time and with my husband Michael, I didn't realize how much of guarding I already had, how much I thought we were gonna leave too. So yeah,
Well, let me ask you this. So married NFL what year?
gosh, we were married from 2001 to 2016.
So for a light switch to go off like that, immediately when we started talking and hearing your story, and that's what I wrote down and circled, the first thing I wrote down and circled was CTE. Here's why.
Mm-hmm.
I know. And I waited there and I waited for your look to see how you'd react. And here's why. There's so many different studies and things like that. I believe about 50% of it, right? I really dove into and studied the Aaron Hernandez story, probably a little bit deeper than a lot of people did. I had a friend, Laith Welschlager. He's an actor and he played Rob Gronkowski in the Aaron Hernandez story. For some reason, I just gravitated toward the show and to the story. And then there's been so much to come out after it, right? Now, in that situation, you have something that's always been there. But in saying the NFL, though, with like a cult situation, like you're so afraid to be yourself because of the situation you're in with the NFL. You're put in this exclusive group of one percenters, and God forbid that you are outside the box a little bit, or whether it's sexuality or anything. And then, I think something snaps at some point. Now, the CTE, they had proven Aaron Hernandez had it to, it was like the worst case they had ever seen in someone his age ever. Like it was, if you look at the story, it was insane. His brain was like shriveled. It was wild. His brain shrunk and everything else. I don't know the situation and I don't want to pretend to. But what I will say is for a light switch to go off like that, right? Where he's got this beautiful wife and these beautiful children and this beautiful home and this beautiful life. And then it's like, okay, now, even if that lifestyle of NFL prior is about polygamy and stuff, right? Let's just say they're not the most loyal husbands. Let's just say that as a general thing. Now, I'm not saying you know what I mean, but let's just say that's a part of it. That's a small part of it. For then the entire life to change, right? Because you have to really, for me to be a man, and I love my wife and I'm married to my wife, and for me to just have a light and just say, okay, now I'm going to change my entire lifestyle, the way I think, divorce my wife, go off into this world. That's almost like midlife crisis, but led by something, right? So do you kind of dig what I'm saying? Like, do you think that could be potentially anything to do with it? Because it does cause drastic character changes.
I mean, I'm sure in a whole lot of cases, yeah. I'm sure in this case, I would think that in my case, gosh, there's so much background and history. There's the Muslim father married to the Christian mother. There was there's just a lot of things that I could kind of,
It's confusion.
Yeah, like yes, for sure. And this is going pretty deep. So we had 6 boys, and then we had our girl. And he would say, I want the 12 tribes of Israel. He's very, biblical and wanted, just deep in his faith.
So always prior to, he was always that way. He was very religious. Okay.
Yeah. And so if I was to even describe our faith, it was like good cop, bad cop. So he was a bad cop. He was like on his teammates. And what is he saying? And so I had to come and go, well, this is what he means. So when I said enduring before, his faith was very almost annoying or obnoxious.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
So I had to come on and kind of temper it. But when this whole cult thing came into the situation, it first started out with, hey, you're not created in the image of God. It's not a big deal. Well, then that saying or that little quote was, God is not hearing your prayers, or you should be a clone of me. And so my voice started getting smaller and smaller. And so this teaching kind of took over. So it was a lot of things. And then just little seeds of lies that started a long time ago. And I'm saying this with all compassion. A lot of moms would do this, but he was told she's a gold digger, you know? And so I had to fight that and prove it. And then all of a sudden this cult, this religious teacher,
You can say what it is.
yeah, goes on Facebook, goes on YouTube and says, hey, you know what? Your wife never loved you. She's a gold digger. She's basically accusing me of having all the 8 kids so that I could get money. I mean, it's so absurd,
Right.
but this is a guy telling my ex that on YouTube, and that was just, it kind of
It's so crazy.
all the way back to, oh, my mom thought that's true.
What? Which is so crazy because he was the one, that was his idea. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, listen, pregnancies, for a guy to sit there, pregnancies are very difficult. Like my wife had a hard time with all 3 of our pregnancies. You guys take 9 months of your lives, and you know, for the good ones who don't want, you know, you have to give so much up, including, you know, a glass of wine. Like glass of wine's fine, but you know what I'm saying. The social part of going out, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So like for 8 children, okay, let's be honest, that's 8 years of your life, or 7 years, and you know, to say, okay, I want to give that up, whatever, for money, not in a million years.
Oh yeah, it doesn't make sense. And that's the thing. I mean, I know this much, that whatever, going back to the whole CT, whatever it was, whether, you know, to me, especially being in it, there was very much spiritual stuff, whatever the case, it was, you could see like logic kind of going out the window.
Right.
It was just like, gosh, like this is so absurd that you're just believing something. But when it's your spouse, I mean, I remember the first time we had this conversation, I was like, are you kidding? It was just so absurd.
For you to hear that. Yeah.
Then you're hearing it over and over. You just start thinking. I mean, I was told, like, God doesn't hear your prayers, right? And it was like that I had to wear this head covering. So I was considered a Jezebel because I had makeup on and things like that. So I'm literally praying and I'm going, okay, I'm supposed to have a head cover. So I remember this one time, I'm cold. I have a blanket wrapped around me. And I'm like, God, do you hear me? And I went, put the cover on. I'm like, God, you hear me? I felt like Verizon, you know, but it was like, that's how crazy.
First of all, like, I gotta interject here with that, because listen, when was the Bible written?
Yeah, 2000 some years ago.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we can identify in 2025 with portions of the Bible.
Yeah, there's principles and things.
Principles in the world, right? I mean, it's just so wild for people to go back and say we need to follow these ancient things, even like with what you had just said, head wearing. You have to adapt to the times. Adapt to the times. You can still have the beliefs that you have, but allow the woman, because she's no different than the man. There's no less here. I put women above men. Without women, men cannot create. You know, you guys need a little small 5 minutes of us, and then the rest, and then you guys do the rest, right? But seriously, and really, you don't. Even today's age, you don't even need us if you didn't. So I think the Creator, you know, and it's amazing to me to see women, even my wife, and you say 8 kids, to see how you guys manage your time and manage kids is something a man could never do. We're not wired that way, in my opinion. God created, you know, women not to sit home, do dishes, whatever, but you guys definitely have instinctively. It's amazing. Sometimes I'll just watch, and then how the kids gravitate toward the mom. Like, they rely on you guys for so much, and then dad's like, hey, dad, can you do this for me? But for a guy to say, hey, you can't wear this or do this or do this or whatever, God never intended that. That's nonsense. You know, he never intended to say this is what the woman has to do or whatever. That's just the way it was back then, right? When guys had to go farm or kill,
Totally
right, for livelihood, and the woman, being more petite or whatever, maybe couldn't go do that. The world has changed so much. The Filipino Eileen that came over, how religious were you growing up?
Catholic.
Okay.
And I would say that I always had a conscience of God, but it wasn't anything. I mean, I was very, before I came to my like faith, I do this. I tell my kids age appropriately because they know me. They know that I love God.
Yeah.
But there was a time when I didn't do that. I was not who I was. And so I want to make sure that they know, you know what, mom understands, she's approachable. Because, you know, if I want to be the one that they go to, and that they they trust and that they're transparent with, and it comes with me being transparent. And so gosh, looking at what we went through and how it was legalistic, just different things, I just have a motivation and incentive to make sure that, one, that God is a standard, two, I fall, and three, like, hey, you know what, you have a purpose bigger than football. You have a purpose that is outside of what happened. I mean, and again, I mean, my youngest is 7. So I've got a boy, I've got the one girl who's 11, and then 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, 22. And so
The children that are a little bit older, how have they followed religion? How have they reacted? Are they practicing, or are they in a finger quote normalized, right? So I feel like over the top would be when you're trying to discipline your child and you're quoting Bible verses. I think that would be over the top. I think normal would be like, hey, this is the type of lifestyle we follow, and God, we want to follow the structure. That's normal. Going to religious classes or something, that's normal. But quoting biblical things and whipping your child with a willow tree branch or something, we're going a little over the top, right?
I mean, honestly, I don't want to say that, but for sure there was a lot of focus on the wrong things.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that it was the heart of God. And so I think for me, again, that was like such a big thing is I want God and his love to be the standard. And so my kids, like, that fine line of when it was happening. So we're talking 7 years ago. So my oldest was 15. The conversations that I had to have with them were, like telling him what was going on, but the fine line of not bashing, the fine line of, okay, we're praying for him, but you know what? He may not come back. And so I see that their faith, crazy, you would think, but it's still strong.
Yeah.
And they're not bitter. But I know it had a lot to do with setting that tone.
It
Not in a prideful
had a
way,
lot
but
to do
it's
with you.
Yeah.
Don't like it had a lot to do with you keeping your composure and
Mhm.
giving those kids. And I'm going to bring Michael into this a minute, because Michael sounds like an amazing human being. Obviously supportive, but those kids, to see their mother still being confident and in control and not losing it, which took a lot from you. I really commend you with that. Let's go into Michael a minute, if you don't mind. I mean, remarried, obviously found this man. Did he have children?
He has 7 of his own.
Okay. So 7 of his own, which is mind blowing. And then you have 8. Okay. So we're talking about 15 kids.
Yeah. And of course, dynamics are different. Dynamics are different with different kids in his situation. His 13 and his 16-year-old, they hang out with us the most, but they're in the Midwest. But
Okay.
they just left here. And so we see them most consistently. And thank God, like, they get along. Like, our kids get along with them. And
Well,
so there's no weird, I don't know. I mean, talk about how crazy the situation is to have 15. Probably I talked to his oldest too, fairly consistently. I mean, it's a great dynamics.
if you don't mind me asking, his ex-wife,
Mhm.
how did those circumstances, and again, we're getting deep. Anything you don't want to answer, you don't have to, but how did those circumstances end? Because obviously yours was a story and it was pretty abrupt. How did his circumstances end? And then how was he able to adapt to your lifestyle?
I would say if I would summarize it, when I went through my crazy and my hard times, I ran to God. He ran from God. He got married super young. And so he got married at 19. He acknowledges that he was, definitely a different man,
Too
very
young. It's too young.
all those things. But it was one of those situations where, yeah, like this life that he was hoping would happen, he was having a hard time. So he had 5 with the wife.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And so I hate to say this without, but he was like, you know what? Like, he was mad that God wasn't answering prayers that it worked out. So the crazy thing is, here, when I remember like talking to my kids and I said, you guys, I think I'm finally open to who God has for us. Right. So I'm open to it finally after the 4 years. And this is during COVID. So he lost his job. He went to the desert with his truck and his motorcycle and a tent.
Wow.
And during that time, that's when he felt like God was calling him back. So here I'm praying for this guy, and he's finally coming back to God. And he literally told his kids, I'm going to go wife shopping. And so that's the crazy dynamics that happened between us is, two total opposite situations, two total opposite people, and we came together. And I mean, it is definitely not easy. Second time marriage is for sure hard. For me, it was hard because I had 4 years of going, you know what, I can do this on my own. And I wasn't bitter toward men. I didn't think I was bitter toward men. I mean, people would ask me like, I think, are you going to start dating or do anything? And I'm like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I'm not bitter,
Yeah.
but I just don't have time. But when it did come, and the whole thing of the online dating, it was like, it's weirdly comical. I don't know. All odds are stacked against us in every way.
I met my wife Trish when she was 19 here in Buffalo, and I saw this, this beautiful waitress, and I bet somebody that I could get her number before somebody else, right? So, and I was 25, and we've been together pretty much since, right? I've been with her over 20 years, and I'm loyal, I'm faithful, I'm happy with her, right? And of course we have ups and downs, and everybody has ups and downs. There's reasons even that you and I are talking right now. And being as strong of a believer in God as you are, you have to believe that, right? Like, that's crazy that we're even having this conversation, and a pretty good in-depth conversation. Well, Mike's out in the desert, and it sounds like you saved this dude's life in a way, right? I mean,
a lot of ways he says, he's like, gosh, there's this term in the Bible, it's kinsman redeemer. So basically it was this man who just took this woman on it, a little bit like opposite, but he felt like I drew him to, back to faith. And it's crazy because I'll go, of all women, because sometimes I'm probably over the top for him when it comes to my faith, but I'm like, you didn't have to pick me. Like, you
could have been anybody.
There's something in him that I felt like I knew he needed that. And so, yeah, so we're complete opposites, and he stretches me and he does things that can drive me nuts, but it makes me better. And same thing with him. And that's the beauty of, when you're so opposite. And again, I feel like I put a lot of pressure on us unnecessarily, because
why do you feel that?
Because it was so out in the open. So everybody's seeing how all this nonsense happened. And wait, she's starting all over. Oh my gosh, who's this guy? So there was critical people, like loving, supportive people who are.
Did he know? Sorry to interrupt you, but did he know? Like, all right, when you go online, you don't broadcast, hey, but you don't put your name in underneath it, NFL X, right? Like, so that's not part of who you are. How far, like, we all have to admit as humans, there's the attraction element, right? The physical attraction element. Probably you clicked on him, you wouldn't click on the ugliest guy. You just wouldn't. I'm sorry. But anyone who says they did, they're lying, right? There's the first thing is the physical attraction, especially with online dating, because you don't know if he's nice or not.
Super rare. That's why a lot of people are lying.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So how did he, I guess, at what point did you introduce, hey, this is who I am, and this is my story, to Michael?
I mean, literally day one. So, okay, this whole online dating, I thought it was stupid, but I happened to go back, and it was just, it's a long story, but there's this other guy who I knew from college, and we started talking. I knew there was nothing that was going to come up. But it brought me back to this online thing. And the thing with online, especially in the Midwest, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be with, I was thinking, like, no offense to the Midwest people, but it was like bad selfies with their dogs, their beer, their football, the flannels, and the fish. I was like, I'm done with that. And he happened to be from Chicago. He looked super, he definitely stuck out of the crowd. I saw he was cute, but he was also not my type. I'm like, this is kind of a bad boy. He's just not my type. And I did not think I swiped right. And then all of a sudden he's texting me. And so he's saying, he's like, okay, wait, you're in Green Bay, I'm in Chicago. Unless you have a helicopter, like, nothing's going to come of this. And so I said, I've never done this before.
Going with my NFL mind too, Green Bay and Chicago, like the most bitter against the Reds, right?
Think about that.
Yeah, right. The most bitter rivalry there is.
Exactly. Well, then, so we just start talking, and it was just, I actually said, this is what he asked me. He goes, I said, I've never done this before. I said, where do we go from here? He goes, oh, well, if you were in the grocery store, what cereal would you get? And I said, okay, this is stupid. I said, this is exactly why I don't do this stuff. And I said, I didn't even put a bio. And he goes, well, why? And I said, well, one, I'm a Christian. And I said, you'd run. I said, that's why you'd run. And then I said, one, I'm a Christian. And two, I have 8 kids. And his answer was, wow, you're the first person that has more kids than me. And it just kind of went from there. It was just like so many things in common. And so that was day one. We talked all day, day one, all day, day two. And statistically, from what I hear, that's how you should, like, you shouldn't stay on texting. Like, you need to hear each other, you need to see each other,
I think
because
it's important. Yeah.
yeah, you start falling, you're attracted to this fake person. And so
Almost a computer, almost like AI.
yes, yeah,
Like, think
yeah,
about it. You could literally have been talking to AI.
yeah,
How would
exactly.
you know? How would you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I'm gonna say this because men do this. I had current pictures. His pictures were 8 years old.
Well, I think
And
women do that too. Women do that too. Here's the
okay,
difference. The
but
guy's picture may have been old. The women they have what's called the filters. So women like to use those.
yes,
All right. In
yeah.
defense of
See,
all men out there, in
yeah,
defense of all men using their high school photo.
I was freaking out for a little bit because he looked very different
Yeah,
from
yeah,
8 years
yeah.
ago to whatever 3 or 4 years ago.
Sure,
And
sure.
then he sent me a picture. I was like, okay, all is well. Yeah, he's like I say, he's
So
a good.
I absolutely love that you're admitting that part of it because, that is real and sincere. And honestly, Eileen, that's what makes me know that you're the real deal. Because you could have came in and said, like, that doesn't matter at all, and God brought us together or whatever, right? Which is partially true. But I love your honesty of saying, yeah, I wanted to see this dude's picture.
For
Because
sure.
that's real life. That's real life. If you're going to spend the next X amount of years with this person, you obviously need to have the attraction, right? And
Yeah.
I'm going to get into a few fun questions. What is your favorite song to dance to when no one's looking?
Calm Down by Selena. I love that song.
I'm going to have to listen to it today then.
It's
I've
the
never.
one oh yeah, yeah, you'll have to find it. And then anything Bruno Mars.
He
He's the
hasn't
best.
come up
Like,
with,
I
I
haven't
feel
been
like
to
he
his
hasn't done
concert.
anything new in a long time. What's your favorite ice cream?
Anything chunky.
A little peanut butter in there? You have peanut butter guy?
Actually, okay, so there's one. It's from Handel's. Handel's is in California. It's
Okay.
Cookie Monster, Blue Monster. So it's got some blue. It's got cookies and cream. I'm a cookies and cream girl. Anything.
Yeah, yeah. I've got, the last couple answers have been cookies and cream. That's on the rise.
Really? Oh yeah. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that one.
Do you eat chicken wings?
Only if my kids bring them.
Okay.
yeah.
So Buffalo, obviously known for our shout out to Elmo's, one of my real big sponsors. Best if you ever out this way, man, Buffalo, I'm taking you out for wings, by the way.
Okay, cool.
For sure. Bring Michael, Trish, and we're all gonna go. Chicken wings are obviously a big deal here. When you are eating them, do you eat the drums or do you like the flat ones?
Oh, yeah, drums for sure.
So we're
Yeah.
definitely friends from that answer alone, for sure.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, because obviously not. I mean, I was part of that world, but man.
No, but I'm kind of, like I'm trying to be as diverse as possible, sticking to my theme, which is kind of, interviewing athletes, but then everything in between. There's a reason you and I are speaking right now, because of all things for me to do a show with athletes and everything else. And then for me to get to know you, I mean it sincerely.
I mean, yeah, like, gosh, we can talk.
But this was awesome. I'll end the show on this note, and then I'll introduce you to Trish here. But it was a pleasure having you on Moneyball. I think we'll definitely do it again. And it was amazing to get to know you and to talk a little bit. So it was awesome.
Awesome. Very cool.